And meanwhile, a federal judge in Rhode Island issuing a major ruling yesterday, which has profound impact over 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP benefits. Judge John McConnell ruling that the Trump administration must fully cover the costs of food stamps for the month of November by today. Almost immediately, the Trump administration appealing the ruling.
Previously, the U.S. Department of Agriculture halted benefits for this month. Of course, this is in response to the government shutdown had caused the program to run out of funding. Vice President J.D. Vance also not holding back when asked about his feelings on the ruling.
It's an absurd ruling because you have a federal judge effectively telling us what we have to do in the midst of a Democrat government shutdown, which what we'd like to do is for the Democrats to open up the government. Of course, then we can fund SNAP, and we can also do a lot of other good things for the American people. But in the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation.
Joining us now, and that is J.B. McCuskey, the Attorney General for West Virginia. AG, good to see you. You know, the vice president does have a point. I think about the Supreme Court ruling where federal district judges, they can't make blanket rulings for the country. And the vice president is essentially calling that one out. Do you agree? Do you disagree with the vice president? And maybe why?
Yeah, so what we have here is Democrats who have shut down the government and are trying to find a way around their incompetence. And it is really remarkable to watch Democrats try to blame Republicans when they have voted 15 times to shut the government down, and Republicans have voted 15 times to open it up. But our office, along with about 25 other Republican attorney generals earlier this year at the U.S. Supreme Court, fought to have these kinds of universal injunctions ended. What we know is that the idea of a universal injunction as they play out in district courts is very dangerous to our judicial system, and it's very dangerous to the concept of the three branches of government all having equal power. And so we believe that the administration is going to win this appeal. But what's really important here is that we have millions of Americans who are struggling to eat. And in the wake of that catastrophe, Democrats' only option was to be litigious, as opposed to walking into the building, voting to open up the government, and funding SNAP so that so many, not just West Virginians, but people all over the country who are struggling to eat can have access to a benefit that they need.
Sure. And you think about those Democrat attorney generals. I mean, they could call up the senators, right, and say, hey, friend, can you help us out this way? It would be a lot more you'd have a quicker resolution, by the way, with an easier vote than having to go through the legal process here. But sure. I wanted to ask you, AG, about how President Trump viewed the matter. And again, this isn't the first time that a court is trying to stop Trump administration policies or their view on the matters. But here's what he had to say.
Our country has to remain very liquid because problems, catastrophes, wars, could be anything. We have to remain liquid. We can't give everything away.
So what does that mean for West Virginia? Are you able to provide some sort of relief for folks who do need that?
Yeah, so our governor, Patrick Morrisey, has taken very proactive steps to do as much as we can to ensure that those that need these benefits are able to have access to food. And he has a $13 million plan that is being buoyed by private donations, which really is, one of the beautiful things about our country is that when the government fails to do its job, we have religious institutions, as well as charities and C4s who are always willing to step up and make sure that the least among us have access to their life-sustaining benefits. So that is something we're very, very proud of. But what the president said is correct. And like I told you before, we have been fighting these universal injunctions for over a year. And we won in the United States Supreme Court, holding these rogue district court judges who think they're more powerful than the president accountable for a massive overstep of what is their constitutional authority. And the thing that's really interesting is in the neighborhood of 91% of every universal injunction ever created by a district court judge has been against President Trump. And that's in the history of our country. So this is rogue liberal district court judges overstepping their bounds because Democrats can't do their job and are unwilling to vote to do the things for the American people that they were put there for. Right. And it should be mentioned that John Fetterman has shown incredible bravery throughout all of this as a Democrat who has been voting with Republicans because he knows that it's the right thing to do. And he's the only person on that side of the aisle that I've seen that has any courage and any empathy for the Americans who are struggling to eat.
What? He's putting people over politics. I mean, you don't really see that anymore. And he's now walking out with simply common sense, and that is a no-no, at least on the left side within Congress in this moment specifically. I want to talk about West Virginia, and I'll close with that. The SNAP program helps feed roughly 275,000 in your state, sir. And CNN wrote an article about this ruling. It reads in part, quote, many beneficiaries have to wait at least a few more days to see the assistance, depending on where they live. States send food stamps enrollees information to vendors every month so they can load funds onto recipients' benefit cards, often days or weeks before the new month begins. So those steps need to take place before benefits can restart. My question to you, and I'm not sure how much of this that you're connected with, but what is the situation in West Virginia? Are there delays? I know you mentioned the governor stepping up in this moment to help West Virginians, but what is the situation there for those that rely on SNAP benefits in West Virginia?
The situation isn't great. And it is no small secret that West Virginia struggles with poverty, and per capita have about as many people on SNAP or in poverty as any place in the country. And so what Democrats are doing in our eyes here in West Virginia is they're looking down on the least among us, right? It's easy when you're in a high rise in New York City and you're a Democrat senator from Boston or New York or California to just say, those folks down there in Appalachia, we don't need to open up the government. They don't need to eat. So they use the people in West Virginia as pawns in this ridiculous political game where all they have to do is walk in the building, vote yes, and then figure the rest of this stuff out later. And it really is that simple. And so this is just another case where the hardworking men and women of Appalachia who have done so much to mine the coal and drill the gas that keeps the lights on throughout this country and made all the steel that put these buildings together are looked down upon by elitist liberals from the coast. And when we don't get to eat, they don't care. But if you were to make this a problem in their own backyards, I promise you they would be screaming and yelling at Republicans. And just the other day, a liberal newspaper in West Virginia wrote just an absolute hit piece on me for, quote unquote, failing to lift a finger to get SNAP benefits back online. And that is such a backwards and ridiculous way to look at it. And it's the way that liberals do look at it, that I was unwilling to sue the president when their own senators have voted 15 times to deny food benefits to people in West Virginia.
Right. Absolutely. That's the key part of the story here. Republicans, quite frankly, need several other Democrats to reach that 60 votes to get the government back open. You're relying on folks across the aisle to say, you know what, we got to get these SNAP benefits back online. We've got to get the air traffic controllers back paid. We got to get military members paid during this time, and we still haven't seen it. They've had so many opportunities to do so. AG J.B. McCuskey, thanks so much for joining us here this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys very much for the opportunity. Let's get this government back open and let's start feeding the American people and getting back to work.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon. Thanks for that.